sports.bet, the British home of American sports.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Heads. Week 8 of the NFL is almost upon us. We're almost halfway through the season. And today I'm joined by Warren Lambias, who is the co-founder of Red Zone Sports, and also Sam Morgan, the sports reporter for The Verge magazine. I'm Simon Millen from Lindy's Sports, and we're going to get straight into the news and views this week. Gents, great to have you here, as always.
Good to be here.
Good. We need to talk. That's the important thing. Trade deadlines on Halloween this week.
Oh.
It's going to be some really interesting things going on in the NFL. What are the potential trades that interest you?
Well, potential trades or fantasy trades. You know, not fantasy football trades, but trades that
you'd love for your team.
Love for my team. I don't know about love for my team, but love to see a team maybe fulfill its potential. I think Joe Staley, the left tackle of the 49ers, going somewhere like the Seahawks would give enough time in the pocket for Russell Wilson to do his thing. He's still struggling a bit. I know they've had a couple of blowout wins against the Colts, but I think the offense at the Seahawks is still struggling because he's not getting enough time. So that would be my number one. The other one obviously would be Bryant from the Steelers, and I would love to see him go to the Bears because I think that division is wide open.
That's a good point. I like the Joe Staley thing. Tottenham fan, Joe Staley, big Tottenham fan. So that goes against him in my book. Sam,
it goes against me as well, because anything to do with Tottenham should just be completely banished. But I think the Eagles might need someone like him as well, with Jason Peters obviously getting injured. Yeah. So, but we've also heard Kyle Shanahan say it's going to take a lot for him to leave. So I'm not sure how realistic that will be for him to actually leave the 49ers. A lot of murmurs about Eli Manning.
Yeah, Tom Coughlin.
Yeah,
Tom Coughlin down in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think that's obviously something that's going to maybe materialise in terms of sort of seeing a bit more around the media side of it. I think when asked about it, Eli, a little bit of a smile, and it's like the first I've heard of it. But how many times do we see that, and then it starts to rumble along?
I just can't see it myself. I can't see. I mean, I know there's a connection there between Coughlin and Manning. Why would you give up so much of your salary cap and so much of anything else for Eli Manning in his current form? Do you know what I mean? I think
that's a fair point, but he's sort of coming to the end of his contract, possibly the end of his career.
I just
winding down.
Yeah, I think it will create more problems than it will solve.
For the Giants or
I think for Jacksonville. I think Blake Bortles, we all know he's sort of, I always consider him a poor man's Ben Roethlisberger, but it's not so much in the game they played recently. Yeah. But I just think they're running the ball nicely. They're not putting too much on Bortles with his arm, and I think why try and fix something that's not broken? I think they should continue with that mode of operation for them. And I think putting Eli Manning in there would just put so much pressure on Manning, on Tom Coughlin, on the team. I just don't think it makes any sense to myself.
But if they've got a running game, which they have, Leonard Fournette, if they are in a position to win, which they are, they're a win-now team.
They are a win-now team. I wouldn't disagree with that. I just don't think Eli Manning is necessarily the answer, and I should apologise to my son for that because he's got an Eli Manning shirt up on his wall, signed by Eli Manning. But I just don't think that Eli Manning would be the fix there for me.
I'm going to upset you now, Sam, being a Cardinals fan. Larry Fitzgerald is rotting in Arizona. Does he go somewhere? Where would be a good fit for him?
Arizona is a great fit for him. Let's just keep him there. I'm going to sort of make that a very obvious point. I think for the Cards, really, it's for them to go evaluate the season now and say, I'm sure Bruce Arians won't give up on anything. We know he's that stubborn character, but it's what they do next. We saw Palmer leave the field, and I still never. It's not like a doom and gloom for me when Palmer leaves the field.
You were in the stadium with me on Sunday. Yes. Yeah? You know your team didn't score any points.
Yes, but that was the thing. Even when he was on the field, it was like, did we look like we were going to go anywhere? I mean, I know he wasn't there. It wasn't on the field long, but that's the thing. Is now what do we do next? Can we go the whole season with Stanton? No. So maybe it's something to really evaluate now. Would you go through losing Larry for this part of the season not to take him in.
Well, it's how many seasons are you going to have him for? And I don't think you can have him for many more. So I think that if the right, I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's going to want to do it as well. So I don't think he's going to want to go to a team that's not significant, you know. So,
is he a one-team man, though?
Yeah, I think
that's the sort of guy he is.
Yeah, I think he's quite happy there. I'd be surprised if he moved, but then, you know, what do I know? Yeah.
Interesting point you brought up earlier about Martavis Bryant. Now, I've got a thing about Martavis Bryant here.
I think the rant's coming under you.
Here's a rant. I'm in a rant mood today, guys. He criticised Juju Smith-Schuster on Instagram. He moaned about his lack of catches. He apparently demanded a trade. Now, the thing with this guy, for me, he's got to zip it and grow up. Full stop. Simple reason is that he's got his girlfriend doing his tweets for him. I mean, you got to get rid of this girl. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's going to get you in trouble.
I like to say there's nothing wrong with not doing your own tweets, personally.
No. And the other thing is, I mean, the advice he's being given is terrible. You know, he's had 2 drug suspensions. The Steelers have backed him in that. They've kept him on the contract that he's got. They didn't have to do that. His stock now is basically untradeable. No one's going to touch him. The whole of 2016 was virtually lost because of his drug suspensions. They backed him to the hilt. Mike Tomlin's backed him, kept him in there, and his advisors need to go as well. Simple reason is this: if he wants a trade, they have to know their history, and they obviously don't, because the Steelers do not trade, especially in season, and they can't trade him for anybody. So my advice: zip it, grow up, son. There.
Don't criticise other players in any sport. It doesn't matter what you do, especially you know your own teammates.
You don't know
as well.
them, but you don't criticise players.
It's you know, the Steelers as a whole are a little bit of a simmering camp. Even though they've had 2 wins on the trot, there's something not quite right there. Yeah. So I know I take your point on that. If you're a player and you want to get a move, perhaps making it yourself a bit of pain in the arse as you possibly can is the way to do it.
I think it's not the way to do it. I think you've got to be a good camper, and you know they're a class they've been a class organisation for about 45 years, and ever since well, I mean they've been a class organisation for a long time, and to see them this season in turmoil, teams do it occasionally.
Yeah, the thing is,
just
although it's a sporting team, it's also a business. So if you've got money there that's obviously not being utilised in someone like just rotting away, why not?
And also you make a really good point, because he is a business too, and so he wants to move.
Well,
and if he wants to play, you know, he might have considered the best thing for me to have a chance of moving is to get this out, because you're right, the Steelers don't trade in season, so they don't trade in season, so he's just going to sit there. So what's he got to lose by putting his hand up saying, I want to go before the deadline? So
he needs money. This is the thing. You're suspended, you don't get paid. He's short of cash. That's basically what it boils down to. And you know, but to go around criticising other players after the Steelers have backed you for 2 drug things, it's just a kick in the teeth. You don't bite the hand.
I'm not saying it's classy, but I'm just saying that, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if, even though the Steelers don't trade, if he moved on deadline day, and then he would have got what he wanted. So you know.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, potentially happen.
So, Martavis Bryant, enjoy your time on the practice squad, son. Right, gents, next question. Division leaders. Now, Patriots 5-2, Chiefs are 5-2, Steelers 5-2, Titans are 4-3. There's a surprise. Eagles 6-1, Rams 5-2, Vikings 5-2, Saints 4-2. Who have you got? Who do you think is?
Well, what I've got to come on to is the Patriots. The Patriots are, for bookmakers, the Patriots are always a bone of contention, because you price them really badly and still people back them, and still normally they scrape through. But at the moment, they are priced 1 to 10. 1 to 10
to win their division.
To win their division, they've still got to play
which is
the
Dolphins
best division
twice. In football, I have to say. It's the best division in football. You've got 3 teams over 500.
And they've got to play. They've got to play the Dolphins twice with Matt Moore. Who knows what the Dolphins are to be like now? They've got to play. They've got to play the Bills twice. Yeah. So actually, trying to make the fact that they are 1 to 10 on, and I know this is not the betting part of it, is crazy to me. That is just on past reputation. They're still, their defence has shown signs of improvement, but you know they weren't playing. Atlanta aren't the team of last year. They're struggling to score against anyone since the second half against Miami. So I can't say you can't say that the defence has turned a corner. Yes, They're top of the pile in offense. But I still think that division is more open than the odds out of Vegas are suggesting, and I would have it more as a 1-4 rather than a 1-10.
But with the Patriots, I know you said about sort of past sort of history that these odds do come up. You cannot write them off.
No, you can't.
And I've said this in previous shows, and look at how bad they're doing. That's what champions do. They grind out results, and they probably are a bookie's nightmare. But on this occasion, I'm still they've had their blip. I think we've seen the blip in the Patriots, and I think now we'll see them.
I think you're probably right. The only thing I would say is I really think they missed Blount at running back. I think that the running game is they missed that truck. They've got the pass catchers who can running backs who can go with the ball, but they missed that downhill. Going to get them the yardage, and so I think that to defend against them, you're still defending now against the pass. If they come up against a well-balanced team with a good defence, I still think they've got a couple of losses in them, and I don't think they're going to be one of the top 2 seeds.
Here's the thing about New England. Out of all the division leaders, they're the only ones that have played 2 teams that have got a record under 500. They played 5 teams with a record above 500. Okay, that was Tampa and the Jets, who are not a bad team. They're a 3 and 4 team, and they could easily be a 4 and 1, 4 and 2 team at least. So that's the thing with New England.
And they've still got. They've still got. So I'm going to say they've still got to play the Steelers in week 15. So
I don't tough schedule. Don't get me wrong.
I think for the AFC Championship, though, I still would back the Patriots. For me, I think if you're going all the way, Super Bowl, completely different thing. I think we're obviously seeing a few teams there on the NFC that can potentially mix it up.
I said this last week, but can we get Sam an account, please? Because
well, let's see.
At those odds, I mean, I think you're right, but I just think the odds are wrong on them anyway. So carry on.
You look at the division leaders. You look at Philadelphia and Kansas City, who you'd class as the 2 teams to beat. Okay.
Well, Kansas City, I think, they're having. I mean, they were unlucky to have lost 2 games on the spin. I think that, as a gut-wrenching loss against the Raiders. But I think that division is wide open.
Philadelphia have played.
Philadelphia
have played 2 teams above 500. Kansas City have played 2 teams above 500. Okay, so they've had relatively soft schedules if you go into it, whereas New England have had a tougher schedule so far, and they're going to continue. So we'll see how that pans out. Who do you make underrate out of those division winners, the leaders at the moment?
Underrate?
Yeah. Who do you think is better than that?
I'm sure he's just caddled us already, just straight away. That's not the question we were told we were going to answer.
I hate to say, I was actually really impressed with the Rams. Actually, even though they had
good young team.
Yeah, they demolished the Cardinals last week. It was a great day, but not the actual game itself. But no, I was quite impressed actually, and seeing sort of Cooper Kupp being used quite a lot, and he brought in a hell of a lot. And it was. I know a few people on the old fantasy side will be happy to see him doing well.
Do you think they can win the division, beat Seattle?
I think they can.
I think they can.
I think they can hold off. I know Seattle have won the game, the first head-to-head, but I think that looks a well-rounded team.
No, they were 25 to 1 in a 4-horse race at the start of the season.
And I think someone was it? Did you mention it? I'm sure it was you who mentioned Andrew Whitworth at the start of the season. The fact that he was, brilliant, great props to you, Sam, for putting him out.
You would bring him up, wouldn't you? You would bring up my man crush, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
it was definitely Sam.
But seriously, first of all, I thought it was a class act last week that the O-line all came out together at Twickenham. So not putting your man in the centre of everything. But I think they're giving Jared Goff time in the pocket. They're opening up running lanes for Todd Gurley. I think, and the defensive Wade Phillips is doing what defences do.
Wade Phillips defences anyway.
Yeah, and so I think
great man.
And the Seahawks, we were saying it just before. I think their offense is still spluttering. So I think that the Rams have got a real good chance, and I think they are still underrated, and because they're not, they're not the favourites. I've got something in there for the odds somewhere. Yeah, they are. So it's I like the Rams. I mean, the Seahawks are 4-9 favourites for that division, and I think that's pretty disrespectful to the Rams. The way they've been playing, and even the head-to-head, bar the I still think the touchdown at the start, I thought that was a touchdown at the start in the game between the Seahawks, and I think the Rams could have easily won that game, and I think they could go into Seattle and do their usual thing of upsetting the Seahawks once a year.
I think they'll surprise a few people.
Excellent. Okay, talking of stuttering starts, we go to Cleveland and we go to San Francisco, both 0-7 teams. First team is going to win a game, chaps. Which one?
San Francisco's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got. I'm going to go with 49ers. I think the Browns.
Do you know what team they're going to beat?
No.
They're going to beat the Cardinals.
No.
They're not going to win this week. They're going to beat the Cardinals next week.
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I'll have them down as the first team to break that duck. I just think the Browns. What have they got? The tools aren't there for me to sort of go on and win a game. And the schedules aren't great for both teams, I don't think. But I think the 49ers definitely have the better of the two.
I think they will win a game. I think it's so rare that nowadays that a team doesn't. Any given Sunday, a team comes out. I mean, you look at. We'll get onto the game at Twickenham this week, but that's a relatively low-scoring offense for the Vikings, and who knows? I mean, it's hard to see how the Browns are going to score any points, but we sat here a few weeks ago laughing at the Giants going to the Broncos.
Oh yeah.
So it's any given Sunday.
Exactly.
I think the Browns will win a game, but I think the 49ers have got more chance of winning one first.
It'd be also interesting actually to see with both those teams what happens before the trade window, because that answer might completely change depending on how much they get gutted.
You're talking about trades. Side. I mean, the interesting thing for me was Kyle Shanahan has sent a real message. They've got rid of Navarro Bowman, who was very, very influential, and he went straight to Oakland. He wasn't getting enough snaps. They were using him. He got very frustrated after the Indianapolis game. They weren't using him. He played 60 of 62 snaps, walked straight into Oakland 3 days after a trade and played 60 of 62 snaps. And yes, he's lost his lateral quickness because of his knee injury, etc., but that's a great pickup for Oakland because they needed him. But it's a real, it sent a real message because they've lost that leadership now, San Francisco. And also, CJ Beathard's in at quarterback now. I thought Brian Hoyer played really well, especially in pre-season and the start of the season. And they pulled him, which is another sort of, that sent a message to a very young team that nobody is without.
No, great.
And I think Shanahan will be given time. I think he's,
he's a great young coach. Don't get me wrong, he's a real teacher.
So they're going to give him time to build on something. Yep. So this season is a write-off for them. So,
but that's I suppose that brings it back to while they're giving him time, why would he get rid of good players that he can build on for the next couple of years as well?
Maybe. But I suppose it's just draft picks if he thinks that.
And they've not been playing particularly badly. I mean, look at the close games they've lost.
Yeah.
There've been a whole string of games that.
I thought they were going to beat the Redskins. I really thought they were going to beat the Redskins.
Yeah. I mean, their schedule gets easier compared to if you're talking about comparing to the Browns. I mean, they're at the Eagles, they're at home to the Cardinals, they're at home to the Giants, and then they're at home to Seattle. And they've had in October they've had 4 away games. I mean, that's not easy, and they've gone coast to coast as well. They've got to go. Go from West Coast to East Coast again this week. They went to Washington.
They beat the Cardinals. It's definitely they're going to beat the Cardinals. Sorry, Sam.
But then Cleveland.
That happens. I said fair enough, but we know what's going to happen, and I'll bring this up again.
So you look at Cleveland. Cleveland's schedule now starts getting tougher. They've got to play Detroit away, home to Jacksonville against that defense. Away at Cincy. They're away at the Chargers, who are improving. It's a bit of a minefield for them.
Just coming back and sort of rolling this all into one. Question for you guys, really. Do you see Kaepernick in a team this year?
No, I don't see him in a team. I think it's a shame, personally. I think he would need to go to the right city. I mean, I think like Arizona, he would make sense, but I don't think it's the right city. He would need to go to one of those metropolitan places, probably on the coast, just because and even when you look at somewhere like Baltimore, they weren't willing to take the chance. It's, I think it's almost like an Oakland or a team like that actually almost doesn't care what the rest of the world feels about them. We're the Oakland Raiders. We don't, you know what I mean? It's that sort of team, and I think it's become such a, unfortunately, political issue now that even if players have stopped taking a knee or whatever, he is rightly or wrongly, I think, is seen as a catalyst of unrest. Maybe not so much in the team, but actually in the fans outside. And when you're an organisation, do you want to bring that on? That said, you look back to the baseball back in the States when Jackie Robinson was playing. it's the same question. It's like, do you face up to the grief you're going to get and put a player in on talent? And he certainly deserves another shot. I can hear in the other room that we've got our traders, and they will definitely be shouting at me because there's one of the traders in there does not rate him at all, but I do, and I think he deserves a shot somewhere, but not this year.
Intriguing though, because I mean we've lost a couple of quarterbacks. Jay Cutler went down in Miami. They've got Derek Fales out of basically off the street, who actually played well in pre-season, so he's going to now be the backup. But you've also lost Carson Palmer. Now the interesting thing for me in the week was Bruce Arians, the head coach of Arizona, came out and said, no, we're asked about the Kaepernick thing. It's going to happen to every head coach. Ducked it quite well, but he basically lied through his teeth. He said, we've never taken 3 quarterbacks on our roster. Now, that's a flat-out lie. I mean, they basically had Logan Thomas. They've had Matt Barkley, Ryan Lindley. Ryan Lindley as well. They've carried 3 quarterbacks at any time in Arians' teams. So that was a little bit disingenuous, and that, to me, says that it's permeating right throughout the league. He's being blackballed, and
it definitely is. It is, because if you look at someone like the Green Bay Packers, say Rodgers could get back on the field this season, then they are crying out for a quarterback. Funny enough, I didn't mention it in the trades, but you would like to see. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is sat at Tampa Bay, showing that he can still come. He's always he's a journeyman quarterback, but he can always win you games. Someone like Green Bay could take someone like him. They wouldn't want to do it because it goes against their ethos of bringing in young talent and salary cap, but could take someone like him who could get them to the playoffs. Colin Kaepernick could get them to the playoffs, but they won't. They will make themselves irrelevant this season because they won't touch Colin Kaepernick, and he could do a job. Definitely could do a job, but it's a shame.
Talking of controversial quarterbacks, Cam Newton walks out of a press conference, asked about the energy of the team, rolled his eyes and promptly walked out. Now for me, Cam Newton is in the NFL what my friend the jockey Ryan Moore is in racing. Truculent, won't speak to anybody, basically blatantly rude unless, and it's not a nice situation to deal with when you have to deal with that. Now, Cam Newton, does he have a...
Ryan Moore's probably going, how am I getting called out on an NFL show?
Because Jamie will watch it, because he's a Jamie Spencer 49ers fan, and he'll tell Ryan, and Ryan will be after me after.
Thanks for that one.
Does he have a responsibility to talk to the press?
Of course he does, but you can't... The press are always going to try and press buttons, as they do. However, it seems to be any time there's anything negative around the Panthers, it's Cam's fault.
That's fair enough. That's a good shout.
Every time, and I think there's going to be a time, we're all human, that I know, unless he has intense media training to sort of block that out, he's sitting there getting it from all angles. But when he does something right, it's, super Cam, great, you get it for about 2 minutes, but if it's something wrong and he's had a bad game, or in general maybe the whole team's had a bad game, it's Cam's fault.
In fairness though, I must say, the two of you are journalists. So there's a start.
Well, you say that.
Secondly, he's the team leader, so it's his job. He's like the England captain, wherever you want. He's the captain of that team. It's his job to. He's not.
Kids look up to him. Kids look up to him.
He's not Marshawn Lynch, who's just folded his arms and not going to play ball. He's the captain, so he's got to come out. And after his slip up the other day, he's just got to be more sensible and cleverer about it.
It's not the first time it's happened though, because obviously he had those sexist comments labelled at him. He had to climb down off of that. It was only a couple of weeks ago. He has to apologise for that. So he's probably going to have to apologise for this. Although actually, I don't have an issue with if a stupid question's asked, you deserve what you get, as far as I'm concerned.
Can we remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. Now you're in the chair. Before we get to
slide that one down.
Yeah, that's it.
If you look at the game tape though, he constantly under pressure.
Exactly the same as it was last year as well.
Constantly under pressure. So it's like, how much can he take without? It's probably actually better for him to walk off and not go. Actually, have you looked at the game tape? Have you seen all the pressure I take? So it's probably actually better for him to walk away than then slip up and criticise his team. So it's probably his way of dealing with it. Yes.
There are classier ways of dealing with it, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. Someone needs to put his arm around him and say, look, just
Duck the
life
question.
through
Yeah.
your teeth.
Duck the
maybe.
question.
But also, you know, he does bring it on himself.
Just say we're a class team.
Yeah.
As Aidan O'Brien.
He
would
calls
say.
himself super
Yeah.
cam. Do you know what I mean? That's
true.
He, you know,
That's
he brings
true.
that. You call yourself super cam, then you know you're
Yeah.
opening yourself up for
Yeah.
some pressure. You know,
And it's not as if he doesn't dress interestingly, shall we say? You see, you know, he uses the media when he wants.
we talking about
to.
Sam, or are we talking about
Let's not talk about Cam's
Super
clothing.
Sam.
I quite like Cam's clothing. Sorry.
Shock.
Yeah, you can carry on.
Dinner suit.
Yeah,
sorry,
I'm going out. I'm going out.
Can someone bring Warren some canapes, please?
Yeah, please. I've got to serve them. Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Should the Cardinals move on from Carson Palmer
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
to something
Please.
called a Blaine Gabbert, maybe?
Well, that's what they've got. Somewhere they've got to go. But
It's got to be done. I think we.
Drew
I love the
Stanton.
Cardinals, but we just got we have an aging team, and it's been an aging team for some time. And it's like, well, you know, why haven't we gone in for someone? There have been plenty of.
you
sort
keep
of
holding on to Larry Fitzgerald, and you won't get rid of him and get yourself some draft picks.
Yeah, but even then, there's still been people that have picked lower down in the picks, and we've still not gone for it. It's like he's put all his faith into an experienced quarterback. That's what Bruce Arians wants. You know, if he didn't, and he actually really focused on actually having a quarterback that's going to see us through, he would have taken that punt on Kaepernick for me, and or get another bit of experience as a backup. You know,
But you've got Drew Stanton, who went 5 of 14 for about 60-odd yards, 62 yards, something like that last week. He's never been statistically a great quarterback, and Blaine Gabbert, well, I mean, he was a rabbit in the headlights when he first came into the league, and I've seen nothing since.
Yeah.
Well, I thought when he was at the 49ers, there was a progression from when he was at Jacksonville. So, you know, I don't think they're, you know, as we just said, they're not going to go for Kaepernick. They're not going to break the mold in that city.
No.
So it was very poor. I mean, sitting in the stadium with Sam last week was. I think we're talking about canapes. I don't think you left him in the second half, did you? I'm sure you.
there was a second half.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, definitely didn't see that.
Well, the only thing you're celebrating is a missed field goal in the
Yes.
in the first quarter.
I
then
mean, Arizona, they've got offensive line troubles. We've said this all along. You know, they've lost David Johnson, the running back, too. Basically, their season after Palmer is gone. Cards are done. Good night. Enjoy your, enjoy your toughening schedule, because that's also a factor.
and that's what
as
makes
well.
that a
Sorry about that, Sam,
two-horse
but it's-
division.
Yes.
You know, that's why
Yeah.
it's the Seahawks or Rams, and it's going to be interesting between those two.
Okay, that's it for the Week 8 news on SportsHeads. Don't forget, if you want to get ahead, tune into the SportsHeads.
RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.